want to serve as a bridge, as a connector between the tech community in Brazil and the tech community here. But we had to start the tech community here who didn't know one another. Voila, I founded Bay Brazil.
So thinking small is not winning São Paulo or becoming one of the players in São Paulo. Being the key player in Brazil is thinking small today for a lot of entrepreneurs in Brazil, which is great. It's a brilliant shifting mindset.
We have been operating for 3 years right now. We have just moved to another space where we will have almost 3,000 people coming every day to talk about entrepreneurship, new business models, new technologies, new ways of working, new ways of doing things, which is a great thing for the local ecosystem.
We got the chance to find an opportunity after improving a lot and running fast and failing fast and learning fast. We learned this methodology from Silicon Valley. And then we had the chance to bring Play Kids globally to more than 100 countries.
We're very excited to be here in the Valley. It's a project that we started about 10 years ago, coming here very often and realizing that there is so much to do, so much to learn from the environment here that we said that we can't afford not to be around.
Brazil is the #2 market, behind a close second behind the US. And overall, Latin America is huge for us. And the second point is in terms of talent, we always need more talent, and access to talent is important to us. Brazil and Sao Paulo in particular is becoming the talent hub in Latin America, so something we definitely want to tap out.
We had 2 exits this year. One was 99, was a very visible, very interesting exit. And the second one was Strider, which is a company in IoT for agriculture, was acquired by Syngenta in March this year.
We recently did a study, right, and 89% of customers think the customer experience is as important as a product, right? And how do you provide a customer experience? You have to be connected, you have to be online, you have to take care of them of every node, every channel in which you interact with them, right? And that's not going to go away depending on, you know, how the real is doing or who wins the elections, right?
Loon's mission is to connect people in rural and remote locations, sometimes after disasters as well, using stratospheric balloons that can beam digital signal directly to 4G handsets. So our main mission in Brazil will be to enable people who live outside of the big centers to participate more fully on this digital transformation.
There is a big opportunity for us to be a platform for Chinese companies to expand into the world. We recently announced a large investment in China, and this is already happening in Brazil. For instance, we have Baidu with us.
AI is kind of a horizontal technology that will touch and transform many different verticals. Over time, we'll need more and more professionals that know how to use AI. I see AI as an opportunity to augment human capabilities in many senses, as you showed an example of the ATMs. Basically, ATMs augmented the capability of the tellers, they didn't actually substitute them. So that's my vision on the long term.
I think getting a data education, right, which there's like a big range of what that can mean, right? Getting some degree of data education is probably a good thing. Will probably open doors at jobs. I think the value of good judgment is increasing, and I think that will play, you know, a bigger role in more and more types of jobs that will happen.
How would you compare the ecosystems in Mexico to Brazil now? I kind of think of, you know, you have this. You have probably, what, 15 to 20 companies at scale in Brazil now. In Mexico, you have your kind of first 5 or 6 companies that are raised money internationally and starting to scale. So when you think of those two markets, how do they compare to each other?
So on the one hand, Brazil is larger. On the second hand, it is more mature. So what we see in Brazil is that our most successful companies are in the Series C, D, or even E stage. So clearly more matured, raising larger rounds.
I've looked a lot into Brazil. I haven't done an investment yet, but I've done one in India, which in many cases, India, Brazil, Russia, China, all of these emerging countries, they share many of the same challenges. Obviously, every country is different, culture-wise, economically-wise, but there are similar challenges. And one thing that I've noticed, to your point, is that there's huge disparities in healthcare consumption. It's true here in the US also, obviously, but in emerging countries, it's even more so. On the flip side, there's this thing called reverse innovation. Maybe folks here have heard of the term, where countries that are emerging, they will develop something typically at a lower cost, and they will develop it for their local ecosystem, and that innovation will eventually come to a developed market.
If you go to Brazil, you may go into Albert Einstein Hospital, and that's going to be a hospital that's going to look nicer, better, and more innovative than some of the top institutions here in the US. But then if you drive, a few miles outside of Sao Paulo, you're going to see some public hospitals that really the quality of care has a lot to be desired. There's a lot of unmet needs.
And we have a big challenge right here. We're discussing the political system that we have, that we want. We're discussing democracy. Talking about misinformation is not only talking about politics, it's not only talking about journalism, it's talking about democracy. And I think that's something that we're all aware of it, and we should, especially in the startup environment, we should start thinking about solutions for that.
Well, first, let's say that it's not just a burden on the tech companies. I think, as you mentioned, it's important not only for tech companies, but for civil society and government to be looking at solutions to the problems. But definitely, the tech companies are not doing enough.
I think what's so unique and what drew me to blockchain and cryptocurrencies really early on is that for the first time ever, you can use this technology to nearly instantly move money from one person to another. Anyone can do this. So even some guy that had no job in Silicon Valley in 2012, me, can move money using this technology with the bad programming skills that I had. And I thought that was wow, if anyone can do this around the world, that's pretty amazing.
And so it was kind of wow, existing behavior pattern, which is I have to move. People talk about pain points versus vitamins. When you are somewhere and you need to get somewhere else, you have no choice. Your atoms of your body need to move, so you have no other choice but to move. And then you say, okay, well, if I can do that existing behavior pattern in a better, faster, or cheaper way, then I got a business.
I'm so thankful to these companies that help us put dialogues like this together.